Hello friends, welcome back to Science with Savi. I hope every one of you is doing great at your places. You are staying home, keeping yourself safe and attending your online classes with full focus and concentration. So I'm back again with the second part of the topic which we started in the last video. We started with cellular respiration. I will tell you again that this topic is there in class 10 NCERT book chapter number 6 live processes, and also it is there in class 7 lesson number 10 respiration in organism. And I have designed the material and created the material in such a way that by seeing these 3 videos which I will be bringing for this topic, your entire chapter is done. You don't need to go and search for some other books or some other material. If you go through these 3 videos, your entire chapter is done. So without wasting any time, let's start. So today class is very important because we are going to go a step further in the chapter. In today's class, we will see and we will learn about that what is ATP. Okay, we will learn what is ATP. Then we will also see the respiratory system in human beings. As we already discussed that in cellular respiration, the glucose is broken down and energy is released. And many times while discussing aerobic and anaerobic, we heard the term of ATP. Okay, you heard the word ATP. The energy, whatever energy is released in cellular respiration is stored in the form of ATP. So I'll just give you a brief, introduction about ATP. We will not go in much detail because that is not needed for you right now. But you should know that what is ATP. So all the energy in cellular respiration, which is energy which is released, it's stored in the form of ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is a nucleotide. It is mainly composed of the molecule adenosine and the 3 phosphate groups. The high energy of this ATP molecule is mainly because of the presence of the 2 bonds which connect the 3 phosphate groups together. These bonds have a very high energy, and this energy is released when the bonds are broken down by the addition of water. That is, the bonds which connect the phosphate molecules together, they have a lot of energy stored in them. And when these bonds are broken, then the energy is released. ATP is like a, energy currency of the cell. And the way we earn money and keep it in the bank to be used up later, in the same way by the process of cellular respiration, whatever energy is released is stored in the form of ATP, and then it is used up by the body or by the cells for its different processes. So with this, we move to the next part, which is respiration in human beings. So this is a very, very interesting topic, and please sit focused with your pen and paper, take points, start making notes, develop a habit of doing this. It is very, very important because these small points which you are noting down while taking a lecture, either it is in your class or the online sessions, these small points will help you a lot when you're doing a quick revision for your exam or your test. You don't have to go through the lengthy chapter again. You just have to take a quick look at the points which you have made. So develop this habit of writing points when you are attending a lecture. So let's move ahead with respiration in organisms. Okay, let's move ahead with respiration in human beings. Now in humans being, the entire respiratory system consists of the organs. These organs are the nose, nose, then comes the pharynx, then comes the trachea, and then comes the lungs. So these are the organs which are present in the respiratory system of human beings. Now all these organs are present in the chest cavity. Okay, as you see in the picture, it is present in the chest cavity. The chest cavity is also called as the thoracic cavity. So all the parts of the respiratory system are present in the thoracic cavity or the chest cavity, and they are separated from the abdominal cavity. Okay, just below the thoracic cavity is the abdominal cavity. That is the space where other organs are present, like the stomach, the intestine, the liver, pancreas. All these organs are present. Now the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity is separated by a wall of muscle, and that is called the diaphragm. This diaphragm is very, very important when the mechanism of breathing comes. So diaphragm, it separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity, and all the organs in the chest cavity are guarded by ribs on the outside. The ribs, all are guarded by ribs, and these ribs are the bones which protect the organs which are there in the thoracic cavity. So first get this point very clear that all the respiratory organs, the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the trachea, the lungs, which constitute the respiratory organs of human beings are there in the thoracic cavity. The thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity are separated by a diaphragm and they are guarded by the ribs. So this part is very important. So now let's begin how the air enters from the nose and move to the lung. So if we see the passage of air on entering the nose, the air enters the nose and passes through a nasal cavity. This nasal cavity is lined by fine hairs and a mucous membrane. Now this mucous membrane secretes a sticky substance which is called the mucus, and the hair and the mucus plays a very important role in preventing the dirt and the dust particles to enter our body. So whatever air which we are breathing in, the dust and dirt which is there in the air is trapped in this hair and the mucus, and it doesn't go inside our body. So the air after entering the nose passes the nasal cavity and then it goes to the pharynx. Pharynx is the throat. That is the throat part of us. That is the pharynx. Now the lower part of the pharynx has a double purpose. Okay, it has a double function. That is, the food also passes through it. The food which we are swallowing with our mouth, that also passes through it. And also the air which we breathe in with our nose, that also passes through the, through the pharynx. So both the things are going through the pharynx. So now the food which we have swallowed, crossing the pharynx, it goes into the food pipe or the esophagus, and the air which I have breathed in with the nose, it goes through the entering the pharynx, it goes into the windpipe. That is there is a common place where the food and air is coming, then the food goes into the food pipe and air goes into the windpipe. When the air takes a wrong path and by mistake enters the food pipe, in that case the stomach throws back that air in the form of burp. The burp which you have after eating a lot at times, that is actually the air which has entered the food pipe by mistake. But when food enters the windpipe, by mistake, then in minor cases by a simple coughing it can be thrown out, and in some other cases it can cause various serious problems. So the lower end of the pharynx, that is the throat, has a dual purpose. So this is avoided by the presence of a flap, okay, like a flap of muscle which is called the epiglottis. So epiglottis acts as a trapdoor. It does not allow the food to enter the windpipe and it does not allow the air to enter the food pipe. So it is at the end of the pharynx and it is acting as a trapdoor. So now the pharynx now continues into another tubule which is the trachea. But at the middle of the pharynx and the trachea there is a narrow passage of air. Okay, there is a very narrow passage is there, and this is the larynx. Okay, this is a very important part. This is the larynx, which is a narrow passageway of air between the pharynx and the trachea. So this larynx is also called as the voice box. It is a box of cartilage, and there are some ligaments and there are some tissues which are there between the walls of the larynx, and because of the vibration of these tissues the sound is produced. So that is why the larynx is also called as the the voice box, and because of which the speech comes out. So what we saw that the air entered the nose, it passed through the nasal cavity, it entered the throat, and in the throat, that is the pharynx. The lower part of the pharynx is a common passage for both food and air, but it is prevented because of the presence of epiglottis, which act as a trapdoor. Now the pharynx enters into the trachea, continues into the trachea, but between there is a narrow passage which is the larynx. Okay, so we saw about the larynx. Now the air which has crossed this enters into the trachea. Okay, the trachea is a very important tubule in the respiratory system. It is a very important organ. This trachea is also called as a windpipe. Now this trachea is guarded by a incomplete cartilaginous ring. This is very, very important. It is guarded by an incomplete cartilaginous ring which prevents the collapsing of the trachea. That is, when the air is there in the trachea, it is okay. But when the air is, exhaled out, at that case, the trachea may collapse. Like if I have blown a balloon and when the air comes out, the balloon collapses. Okay, so why the trachea doesn't collapse? Because there are some incomplete cartilaginous rings in the trachea, and this rings continue not just into the trachea but also in the other parts. When the trachea branches, there also the cartilaginous ring is present. So the air after entering the trachea breaks up into two parts, into two branches. and these two branches are called the bronchi. Okay, bronchi is the plural word, that is two branches, so I am calling bronchi. But if I have to talk about one, I will call it as bronchus. So it breaks down or branches into two bronchi, or one bronchus, and these two bronchus then enter the lungs. Okay, they enter the lungs. Now the lungs are spongy air filled sacs in our body, and lungs are the very important organ because here only the major part of respiration takes place. So when the bronchus, when one bronchus has entered the entered the lung, it further branches into bronchioles, into much finer tubes, which are the bronchioles. So what we saw, that the trachea or the windpipe comes down, it branches into two parts, the bronchus enters the lung, and again the bronchus branches into the bronchioles. And these bronchioles inside the lungs further break into microscopic air sacs, which are called the alveoli. These alveoli are organized in bunches, and each bunch is called the alveolar sac. They look like grapes in the bunch. Okay, the way the grapes are arranged in the bunches, in the same way these alveoli are arranged in the bunches. And these alveoli give a spongy consistency to the lungs. The lungs, are spongy and they look air filled because of the presence of the alveoli. If I see the structure of each alveolus, which are arranged in the bunches, each alveolus is cup shaped and they have very thin walls. They are just one celled thick, and each alveolus is richly supplied and surrounded by a network of blood capillaries. Now these blood capillaries are very small, tiny blood vessels, and they also have very thin walls. Okay. So this alveoli is a major place where the exchange of gases takes place. So as we see the diagram of a single alveolus, that the alveolus is surrounded by the blood capillaries. So what happens is that when we are breathing in, we are taking in oxygen. That oxygen mixed in the blood goes through the pharynx, through the trachea, through the bronchi, through the bronchioles. It reaches the alveolus. So what happened? The alveolus takes the oxygen in it, and the capillaries in the alveolus are containing the carbon dioxide. From where the carbon dioxide has come there? From the cells as a result of cellular respiration. So the alveolus takes in the oxygen from the bloodstream and gives carbon dioxide back to it. So the oxygen from the alveolus again reaches to all the cells, and the carbon dioxide which has come back to the bloodstream by the alveolus, given by the alveolus, this carbon dioxide again takes a backway journey and passes through the bronchioles, bronchi, then to the trachea, pharynx, and then is thrown out through our nose. So the major exchange of the oxygen and carbon dioxide, that is taking in of oxygen by the alveolus and giving of carbon dioxide back to the bloodstream, takes place here. So this alveoli has a large surface area, because more the surface area, more the exchange of gas is taking place. So these are the major site of exchange of gas in the lung. So this part is very, very important. Okay. So the entire human respiratory system, if we see, then we started with the nose. Okay, the air enters the nasal cavity, it goes through the pharynx, then we learned about the larynx, it enters the trachea is lined by the cartilaginous rings, which prevents it from collapsing. The trachea branches into two bronchi. These bronchi again enter the lungs and further branches into bronchioles, and the bronchioles end up into the alveoli. Alveoli are the major, place where the exchange of gas takes place, because they are richly supplied with blood capillaries and they take in oxygen from the blood and give the carbon dioxide back to it, which is again exhaled out from our body. So this is all about the human respiratory system. I hope with the diagram and the explanation, it is completely clear to you. So with this, we finished two important topics today. They sound a little complicated, but I tried my level best to make it very simple and understandable for you. I hope the way I am teaching you, the way I am creating the material, it is actually helping you people. And thank you so much for showering so much love on me. Please share this link of the video with your friends. If you're finding it really beneficial in understanding the concept, please share with all your friends, with your, share it in your class groups and like it. and subscribe me definitely, and don't forget to click the bell icon. You will get the notification all the videos which are coming. So see you very soon. And children, if there is a particular topic which you want to which you want I should come up with, you can please message me that which particular topic which you're finding difficult, which you want me to cover. I will definitely work towards it. So once again, take a lot of care about yourself, study hard, concentrate. This is, this time is the main time to put all your efforts in your studies, because your entire future depends upon what you are doing now. So this present time is very, very important. So stay home, stay safe, keep exploring, keep learning, and see you soon. Bye bye.